Hi, welcome or welcome back. This is the Nubian Review coming to you with my March TBR. So, March is International Women's History Month. And in Women's National History Month, I do like to read about unsung heroes. Some people that do not get the mainstream. However, in this collection, I have these are the books that I'm going to attempt to read for International Women's Month. This is a combination of historical figures, present figures, and a new one that I don't know. This is my first time hearing about her when I got the book, but I think that it's going to be a good book to read. So let's get into this list. The first one is a classic. I Know Why Cage Bird Sings, of course, Maya Angelou. This book is a memoir of Maya Angelou's childhood upbringing. She talks about her early teen years and the abuse that she encountered and how that gave her wings to, express herself and write. Now, I read this book. I want to say it was a long time ago. I don't want to age myself, but it's been a long time. And so I think it's time for a reread. So I will be putting it to my eyeballs in March. The next one is a new person. I've never heard of her, but when I read the premise of the book, I thought that this was a timely memoir. It is Aftershock by Nadia Awasu. Um, I actually acquired this book, a few months back, and this talks about. Okay, let me give you a quick snippet. Young Nadia Awasu followed her father, a United States official, from Europe to Africa and back again. Just as she and her family settled into a new home, her father would tell them it was time to say their goodbyes. The instability wrought Nadia's nomadic childhood was deepened by her family's secrets and fractures. Both lived and inherited. Her Armenian American mother, who abandoned Nadia when she was two, will periodically reappear, only to vanish again. So her Ghanaian father, the great hero of her life, had died when she was 13, and she was raised by her grandmother. And so her grandmother goes on to tell her family secrets, and so it is expressed in this memoir, Aftershock. This is going to be such a treat because just reading the premise alone, I am truly interested. And also, this is part of my 26 to 2026. And part of my 26 to 2026 is Michelle Obama, A Life by Peter Slevin. This is an actual reread. Originally, I listened to this book on audiobook, and so I'm giving it a physical read. This book covers her life from when she was a child growing up in on the south side of Chicago to her visibility in the nation's capital as the first lady, and a little bit after that. It was like a little bit sprinkles after that. But yeah, this is should be a good read. This is also on my 26 of 2026. I think I said the other one's on 25 or 2025. Am I still in 2025 mode? This is also on my 26 or 2026 challenge, if I did say 25. The next one is one of my favorite actresses of all times. I actually acquired the book, and I was looking forward to her going on her book tour. But unfortunately, she passed away right before, I think, the day of her book release or the day before her book release. But it was, I was shocked and heartbroken, but I was happy that I did order the book on its first print. And it is Just As I Am, Cicely Tyson, with Michelle Bruford. I've been holding off on reading this book, and I think that I want to give it a try this time in for women's International Women's Month. Just as I am is my truth. It is me, plain and unvarnished, with the glitter and the garland set aside. In these pages, I am indeed Cicely, the actress who had been blessed to grace the stage for 6 decades. Wow. Yet I am the church girl who once rarely spoke a word. I am the teenager who sought solace in the verses of the old hymn in which this book is named. I am the daughter and a mother, a sister and a friend. I am an observer of human nature and the dreamer of audacious dreams. I am, I am a woman who was hurt as immeasurable as I have loved. A child of God, divinely guided by his hand. And here is my 9th decade. I am a woman who, at long last, has something meaningful to say. Yeah, I was heartbroken when I heard about her passing, but I think it's time to pay homage. She is a legacy, and yeah, I can't wait to get into her story. The next one is probably one of my favorites. I'm surprised they don't have a movie based on her life. Well, if they do, you guys put it in the comments. But for now, Ida, A Sword Amongst Lions, Paula G. Giddings, also the author of When and Where I Stand. This is Ida B. Wells as she talks about what is it? The anti-lynching campaign. Let me see. Let's read here. In tradition of towering biographies about about that as us to tell about American as they do about their subjects, Ida, A Sword Amongst Lions is a sweeping narrative about a country and a crusader embroiled in the struggles against lynching, a practice that imperiled not only the lives of black men and women, but also a nation based on law and riven by race. I think that it's supposed to say driven, but it says riven. Okay. At the center of the national drama is Ida B. Wells, 1862 through 1931, born to slaves in Mississippi, who began her activist career by refusing to leave first class ladies' car on the Memphis Railway and rose to lead to the nation's first campaign against lynching. For Wells, the keys to the rise of violence was embedded in the attitudes not only about black men but about women in their sexuality as well. Her independence, perspective, and persuasive personality gained her enormous as a hero, as well as her inspirations, her career, and threats of death. Exiled from the South in 1892, Wells subsequently took her campaign across the country and throughout the British Isles before she married and settled in Chicago. And they do have, I am from Chicago, and they do have a block in Chicago, a historic block where Ida B. Wells, like a lot of the great civil rights activists, they live like on this particular block. Where she continued her activism, a journalist, a suffrage, and independent candidate in the rough and tumble world of the Windy City's politics. And she, for even now, is the only one that there were a lot of other women who wrote about anti-lynching, but her struggles, I think, were more highlighted, more prominent. And one thing I want to do also this year were to speak about a lot of unsung heroes. She's a known figure, but there are a lot of women who also made that sacrifice, which I will be getting into later on in the year. The next one, Wrapped in Rainbows, The Life of Zora Neale Hurston. Um, she is known for, what is the book? Why Their Eyes Were Watching God, and was it Go Tell the Man on the Mountain, or Moses on the Mountain? But I know Their Eyes Were Watching God. But anyway, this is what is this, a biography of Hurston, not an auto. This was written by Valerie Boyd, and I was always interested in reading this book and getting through it. And so, yeah, we'll be reading this month. Next one I have is On Her Own Ground. The Life and Times of Madam C.J. Walker. Y'all forgive me if I butcher up this last name. Alia Bundles. I think that's how it's pronounced. Alia Bundles. I don't know if this, because there are two versions of this. I don't know if this is the adaptation from the movie that is on Netflix, or because sometimes they do a movie to book adaptation, which changes a lot of the storyline. It changes a little bit of the storyline in the book, so it'll be interesting to read this. Can't wait, can't wait. Last but not least, this is a person who I was introduced to her work as a young adult, and I still love her work right now today. And that person is Alanya Van Zant, a black woman's healing in progress. Interiors is the name of the book. Now, this was my first time ever hearing about Alanya Van Zant through this book. Prior to that, I had not known who this woman was, but this was in the days when I would just go to the bookstores and I will browse for hours and hours on end, and I was able to find this book. This is actually a replacement because my other one got damaged, but I am looking forward to cracking open this book. In her newest book, Alanya Van Zant gives further proof of the benefits of taking control of one life using the power that exists within every person. Interiors tell the story of one woman's trip to insanity and the journey back. This moving autobiography is the story not only of the suffering and the recovery of an incest survivor, teenage mother, abused spouse, and public assistance recipient, but the story of all women who suffer. In this raw, uncensored commentary, Alanya Van Zant takes an intimate look at the problems that afflict black women, the inner battle, the outward conflict, the process of healing from the wise black women's perspective. Born in a taxi, motherless at 3, abused by a bitter grandmother, father, brother, uncle, husband, and lover, Van Zant survived tremendous difficulties, including the death of a child and the birth of 2 others, and overcame her tragedy by finding her strength within. She explores disappointments women endure and the secrets they conceal, and urges all women to tell their stories, to acknowledge their pain, and confusion that has robbed them of their dreams. This highly acclaimed teacher of African philosophy and culture provides interiors. Let me read that again. This highly acclaimed teacher of African philosophy and culture provides in interiors the inspiration of a survivor who learned to trust herself. Her own moving story of a healing in progress serves as a model for all women. And I remember this was my first introduction to Alanya Van Zant, but she also, prior to that, had Tapping the Power Within, a self-improvement path for black women. I have a slew of Alanya Van Zant's book. She is she's highly spiritual and an inspirational person. And I think in every era of her life since I was introduced to her, I've always kept up with her work, and she is just a prolific writer, heavy spiritual, and I look forward to revisiting interiors. And so this is what I have for Women's International Month. As you can see, all of my books are about and by black women. And so I do have a video where I give you recommendations, and I hope you look at that one to get an idea of other women that you can look into, read about, explore, and let's come back here and have the good conversations. So until then, are you reading anything for International Women's Month? And if so, can you leave some in the comments, leave some recommendations for everybody so we can start the conversation. Until next time, bye bye.